Hi guys, and welcome to another video from myself. Today we're going to be going through a bit of a systems setup of new versus old. So I've currently downgraded my PC. I know, right? We're going to go through the spec of that in a minute, and we're going to be putting all the better stuff in this new case, which BeQuiet kindly supplied me, along with, if I move this out of the way, a pure loop 360mm radiator. So the intention is hopefully to get better cooling from a processor, the i9, and see what we can get out of it performance wise and cooling wise. So a bit of a test there. So let me go through the spec of my current system that I'm recording on to show you what I've downgraded to, and a lot of people go, "Oh, that's a good PC anyway." And then I'm going to go through all the new bits. Right, let's just go through briefly the specs for my downgraded PC, the one I'm currently recording on now, which is the one you can see in front of you. It's running in my original BeQuiet 800 case, so this is the first case that BeQuiet made. Still a good case to any standards. It is a bit tight for fitting the 280mm radiator in there, which I've got the Silent Loop 2 in there, which is their latest 280mm, which I bought off of Amazon just before Christmas. Fantastic. It's running an Intel 7800X processor, just over 4 gigahertz, and it's like currently recording, it's sat at about 40 degrees. So it's really cool running on that radiator. On the X299 platform, one of the reasons I went for this platform was to future-proof it, which future-proofed me all the way up to the 10th gen, which we're going to go through in a minute. But also, it supported quad channel memory, so you can see in there I've got 4 sticks of RAM running in quad channel. They are in the right slots, and I'm currently running 16 gig. It will at a later date get upgraded to 32. I'm also running a 980 Ti in here, which obviously is an NVIDIA card, and it's pretty good. It's not a bad one. So power supply wise, to make sure I've got enough for the 980 and the processor and all the RAM and everything, I already owned a BeQuiet Straight Power 10 700 watt. I've had this the same time as what I had the case, and the case and that is about, I'm going to say 7 years old, something like that, and they're still going strong, which is why I reached out to BeQuiet and asked them if, by any chance they could supply me a water cooler, 360mm, and the case. And they kindly did. So it's not that they've given me free stuff, it's the fact I've had their stuff for 6 or 7 years without a single issue. And that's, they make good quality products. As I say, it's very tight for a 280mm cooler in here. Previously I had a 240 Corsair, which I had in there for 5 years, and then I replaced it. Might have been 6 years. But as I say, last year I upgraded to the 280mm. And that's a bit of a tight fit compared to the previous normal 240. So bear that in mind. Storage wise, I'm running off of a Kingston 240 gig SSD, a 2.5, which sits on a little metal thing behind the processor. So at the back there, or at the back of the motherboard tray, should I say. That's running at about 500 megasecond. I've also got an SSD sat on the motherboard itself. Again, that's only starter speeds, so it's about 500 megaseconds. So they're about the same speed. And currently, I've got 2 1TB mechanical drives from Western Digital. Again, I've probably had these drives over 10 years. So they're just, at the moment, temporary drives. They may stay in there, they may come out, and I may replace them. So I've named this case the Silent Keeper, because one of the things that I need to do in the future is upgrade with storage. Now, there is a possibility I'm just going to buy a 16 terabyte drive and put it in here and keep this as an archive PC for all my video footage. So kind of like a NAS, but not a NAS. It will also back me up as a rendering station, so I can chuck a video across here, have it rendering, and I can still be using the other PC at the same time. It also backs me up, if anything goes wrong with the other one, every single one of these components in this PC is compatible with the other PC. They're both X299 platforms, so they're very good in that instance, whereby I can say, I've got a problem with my memory, I need to swap it out, I can grab it out the other one. Problem with the GPU, I can grab the GPU out of the other one. I've got cross compatibility with the systems, which makes it very handy. Same with the CPU, same with the motherboards, same with the cooling. I've got all that redundancy there in a second system. Now, the majority of the time, this is probably going to be turned off and I'm not going to be using it. But it's really handy when I'm working on the other PC to have this to be able to record and like and carry on and like have the other one in bits, which is great. So we're going to spin you around now and tilt you back down a bit and go through some of the other bits. You can see my steering wheel here, excuse me, because it's sort of attached to the desk. So as I say, BeQuiet was kind enough to forward me the new 802 case. So obviously there was the 800, which is what I've just shown you. We've got this one, which is way better from what I can see. I haven't worked in this one yet, but it's got a lot more modularity and a lot more accessibility and a lot more room in it. So I'm looking forward to working on that. We have got they've sent me the BeQuiet Pure Loop 360, so not the silent loop. This is the previous version of their water coolers. Now they've sent me that because they haven't got a silent loop in stock. However, they are hoping to have them back in by the end of March, beginning of April, in which case they're going to send me a silent loop 2 360mm, and then I can swap them out. So I'll be able to put the silent loop in here. Looking at the specs, there's not a lot of difference between them in terms of cooling, but the other one's slightly quieter, I'd say, but there's not a lot of difference. Power supply, you guys have probably seen this before. It is a straight power 11 platinum 1200 watt. So again, I've had this for about a year now. I purchased this, I bought it from Scan, I believe it was, and it was expensive. It was 200 quid. Fully modular, 1200 watt. But it gives me the ability to make sure it's set up correctly. And what I mean by that is it will give me the ability to run 3 separate cables to the graphics cards from separate rails. So they'll be from separate plugs on the power supply. It will also give me, with the addition of the motherboard, the ability to run a second 8-pin power cable for the CPU, which should allow me to get the CPU clocked up to its correct speed. So the CPU I've got, if you can see that, it probably won't focus. No, it's not going to focus. But it's basically this one, which is the 10920X. So this is a 12-core, 24-thread. So it's double the cores and double the threads of what I've got in the downgraded system, the Silent Keeper. Memory-wise, I've got 64 gig of quad channel memory. I don't know if it's worth showing you that, but the timings are 16, 20, 20, 38. So good timings, 1.36 volts. Yeah, and a 64 gig kit. I've also got a 16 gig, because obviously the board can take 8 sticks of RAM. So I've got 16 gig. So this later will be upgraded with a second lot of that. And then that lot will go in that PC. It gets complicated. So to upgrade that one is 32, and then I'll have 128 in this one. That will come hopefully later this year. So that's all going to run off of this board, which is the MSI X299 Pro. So this is basically the same as the other one. It's from the Pro series boards, and it's from the X299 Extreme platform. It's virtually identical to the other one. So I'm hoping I can just slot everything in and it's going to work. And I don't have to install Windows or anything. It will just pick up my Windows and everything. Obviously, it's would be an updated BIOS. Slight variations. It does supply the extra 8-pin power or a second 8-pin power for the CPU, which is great. It does also have on the I/O shield at the back a 2.5 gig network connection as well as a 1 gig. So instead of having on the other board, it's got 2 1 gig connections. Well, this has got the advantage of having a better 2.5 gig network. Again, I probably can't use that for a while until I upgrade my switches and stuff. So we'll have to see what the future holds on that. And the rest is about the same, to be honest. It's the same audio, same PCI slots, pretty much the same as USB connections and stuff. Some of them are slightly better than that, but pretty much the same amount, so we'll be good on that. It does have RGB connectors, but I don't know what type they are. I still need to do a bit of research on that. Plugged into that will be, and I have put it back in the box temporarily, is my 3080, which we bought. Ooh, it's over a year old now, because I bought it in November. Not last November, the November before. And I was lucky enough to get that at basically retail price, which is really cool. Storage-wise, we have got my boot drive, and that is set up as my boot drive, which is a 512 gig Sabrent. Not going to focus properly. I also have, I'll put that one, like, I have got two. I've got a 2 terabyte one, which basically, it doesn't want to focus today. Come on. You can just about see that that's a 2 terabyte one. Basically, that has Skylines and Transport Fever 2 on it, and that's about it. I've then got, I can't remember what's on this, I think there are some more games on here, just a slow SATA. It's still about 500 megaseconds, so it's still not that bad. WD Blue Drive. I do like Western Digital and I like Sabrent, so these are all brands that I trust. And then I've got two terabyte WD Blacks that go in there. So these are all part, or most of this is parts out of my setup there, my desktop, with the exception of the cooler, the case, and the motherboard. The motherboard I actually had to order and purchase from Amazon in the US, so it took about a week to get here, because there just are none. Because X299 platform was discontinued on 10th gen, and we're now on 12th gen. It's like 2 generations old, so it's just basically you've got to find the stock wherever it is. So obviously I can't. I'd like to recommend the Extreme platform, but they don't do it anymore. And it looks as if AMD might be doing the same with Threadripper. It looks like that's done. When the last lot of Threadripper came out about the same time as the 10th gen Intels, so it looks like they both made the decision that not many people buy these high-end boards, and therefore there isn't really a big market for it. So you kind of, although there is kind of a Threadripper, it's the Threadripper Pro, and it's kind of like the Xeons that you get. So it's kind of workstation machines for CAD and shit like that. So it's not really consumer level high end, if that makes sense. And to be fair, like the likes of Ryzen and Intel have sort of come up with their consumer products anyway. So like you can go and get a Ryzen with like 16 cores and that now, which you never used to be able to get. You know, to get 16, 18 cores on Intel or AMD, you'd have to go like silly high-end Pro systems. So this is sort of a dying breed, if you like, but it's still super high-end and really efficient. To give you a comparison, to load my Skylines on a dual-channel system, you would probably take half an hour to an hour. On here, because we're running quad-channel memory, we're sort of boosting that up to about 5 minutes. Well, I think it was 3.5 minutes we've got it down to on my current save, but like my previous save would have taken about 5 minutes. So we're doing good. Anyway, I'm going to put all this together now. So I'm going to record some footage and then put some music over it. So there'll be different camera angles of me putting it all together and building this system. And then hopefully the next part of the video after that will be it up and running on my desk, and we'll be recording to that then rather than this system, so that you can like, well, you won't be able to see the difference, but I'll be able to tell you like the difference in performance and stuff. So I shall get on with that now. Right, so that's that now all built. And it was really, really simple. Done it about a week ago, so it's a week's passed, and I've been using the system. Everything went in. The case is an absolute dream to work on. Water cooler, again, just plug and play, really. Really was simple. In terms of temperature, sat at desktop, I'm currently at 35 degrees. Some games, so if you play games like Surviving Mars or Software Inc., things like that, that's fairly simple graphics and stuff, that isn't too demanding, about 40 to 45 degrees. If you push it really hard for 3D games and skylines and stuff, I'm getting about 55 to 60, where previously on the old case with the 280mm cooler and all the rest of the hardware the same, I was getting about 70 plus, so just over 70. So significant gains going with the airflow case and the 360mm cooler over the 280. So yeah, very impressed. I had a bit of an issue getting it up and running because for some reason the new motherboard, nothing to do with BeQuiet obviously, but the MSI board for some reason worked fine first off for the first day. Booted it second day, worked fine. 7 hours into live streaming, it then decided to revert back to like bulk standard BIOS settings for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, it took me about a day to work that out as to what had actually happened because I couldn't get it back in. And it took me a little bit of time to activate Windows. Again, nothing really to do with the system. The case is absolutely amazing, I've got to say. Best case I've ever worked with, and I can see why it really gets high accolades. It's yeah, I didn't really have any problems. I did notice that due to the way I do things, I had to sort of take the power supply back out, put the cables into it, and then put it back in, and then feed the cables to wherever they needed to go. A lot of people, when they want to do cable management, they do it the opposite way. So they plug it into where they want to go and then feed it back around. But there isn't, because I've got big hands, there isn't really a lot of room to get in underneath that shroud. And that may be why you can take the top of the shroud off. I did work out afterwards that you can take the top of the shroud bits off. Whether that would have helped me or not, I don't know. But I did it the opposite way. Still worked. Really, it's still really easy, but it's just working a different way to what people might be used to. The motherboard standoffs and that being marked, brilliant, love that. I don't know if other cases have got that now. I assume that's kind of the standard. But everything's running really nice on it. It's quiet. So the inbuilt fan controller as well. I've got that rigged up. It doesn't really matter what header I put it on the motherboard because I'm operating it from the switch on the case. So those temps that I listed just a moment ago, those temps are on the lowest setting, so the quietest. So if you wanted to get temps even cooler than that, you can by bumping up the speed of the fans and thus the noise. So it would be a bit of a trade-off. You could then put the sound deadening like parts on, like the front panel and the top, in order to reduce the noise and compensate for the higher fan speed. I don't know if that's worthwhile. I think the airflow and it being really quiet is really good. I would say it's about the same, if not slightly quieter than my other case, the 800 that's currently way behind me, all the way down there at the moment. It's down on the floor. So I'd say it's slightly quieter. Whether that's the sound deadening thickness on the back panel, I don't know. So, or on the back side panel, I call it the back panel, but it's the left side panel or the right side panel as you look at the front of the case. I know I'm not making a lot of sense, but yeah, 10 out of 10 for the case. Really is good. The cooler, it'd be interesting to see what the Silent Loop 2 360mm cooler will do. Obviously, this cooler is only got a white LED on it, so it's not RGB. Their new one has got RGB on it, and I think the new one looks better. because obviously I got the new one in the other case, and it's a better finish on it, and I think they've done a better job. It's but you kind of get used to it. Like, so I've put the RGB on my GPU to cycle through the rainbow, and it kind of reflects off of the sort of aluminium or the stainless steel sort of front plate on the BeQuiet cooler, which is quite nice. I haven't got any more RGB in the case yet. I did have one in the other case that I've got running around, but it's not compatible with this one. I need to get some actual RGB that plugs into the motherboard, which I'll do at some stage. But to be honest, I quite like it dark and out of the way, and not in my face. I just really like what's coming from the screen and being able to see my keyboard and mouse, and that's it. So not having a lot of RGB in there isn't bad, but there's plenty of room to put RGB in if you want to. That's entirely up to you. Having RGB RAM would be cool, and being that it's a water cooler, you could easily have higher RAM with RGB on the top. I've got low profile RAM, which is the Corsair PX stuff, just because it was the right price at the right time. But yeah, all in all, it's gone well. Really, I'm over the moon with it. It's running really good. I'm going to try and move my camera, but I could lose you here. Just try and not lose you. Have it. All up and running. It's so quiet you can't hear it. So much better. So, if you've liked this video, then hit the like button. Feel free, I'm going to lose you now. Feel free to comment down below tips, ideas, or questions you got. Chuck it down below, wrong way, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll put all the usual links for Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon all in the description of the video, but most importantly, share this video out. I want a lot of views on this video to say big thank you out to BeQuiet for sponsoring it and sending me the case and the water cooler. Massive shout out to those guys. And as I say, if it was crap, I'd tell you. I really would. It's like if I got something from a supplier and it was horrible and didn't work, I'd quite happy to tell you and then not work with that supplier again. I've done it with another one that we did. I don't know if you remember, we did a load of controllers and stuff, which I won't use. I'm actually using their keyboard at the moment. And I've got a controller, you can see back there. Not the Logitech, not the grey one, the black one on the unit is one of their controllers. And I've got another 6 controllers of theirs down below. And I worked with that company and they messed me about. And I told everybody and won't use them again. As simple as that. And I can wholly say I would work with BeQuiet again and again because their products are mechanically and acoustically sound. I can say that. Isn't that good? Right. I shall catch you next time, guys. There might not be a video for a little while, but I will be back as soon as I can. So, till next time, it is goodbye from me for now. Bye-bye.